Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making the trip. Thank you for taking the journey with us.
Thank you for all the precautions that you put in place.
You're welcome. We've tried to make this as safe as possible. Nothing's ever going to be guaranteed.
Sure.
We know that. Thank you all for playing along. Thank you all for doing your testing. Those of you that have had a shot, thank you for sending us and sharing your vaccine records with us. That's great. And I'm really super jealous, by the way. My wife's getting those tomorrow. So I'm super jealous of her because she's at home and I'm not. Reminder that our team gets tested every single day as well. We'll be tested every day of every program, so 2 straight weeks of testing. So far, so good. No issues yet. Couple of just really quick housekeeping things. Embargo on driving crashes is the 6th of April. It's Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern. You're welcome to Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, other things that old people like me don't know about. Anything you want until then. Images, the fact you're here, what it's like inside the car, no problem at all. You can share anything. Only awesome driving impressions to be held until that point. And honestly, that's so that everyone for the 2 weeks that we're doing the program around the country gets the same bite of the apple. Right, so into the program. This is a big time for Mitsubishi Motors. As you all know, we moved our headquarters from Southern California out to the Nashville area. We're in Franklin, Tennessee, which is about 20 miles south of Nashville. We've been in California since 1982, so this is coming up on our 40th year in business. And in that move, we hired 150 new employees. So 3/4 of the company is brand new within the last 18 months. We hired 37 people since COVID started. So for example, you met Lauren outside. Lauren's my number 2 in the PR team. Lauren and I worked together for 1 week in the office, and then COVID hit. So we have spent a year on Zoom calls between us. So we've all learned to work together, but what it brings is a new attitude within Mitsubishi Motors. It's a time with new vehicles like the Outlander, with refreshed vehicles like the Eclipse Cross. The Outlander PHEV has an all-new powertrain coming into this year. The Outlander Sport has a full complement of safety features that hasn't had before, all as standard. Even the Mirage sees a complete facelift on the 4-door and the 5-door vehicles. There's a lot going on there. It's an exciting time to be here. Couple of really quick introductions I'd like to make as well. One is Brad Huff. Brad is with MRDA, Mitsubishi Research and Development Americas, and Brad is here just to help us support with all the vehicles. The other is Lauren. For any of you that didn't meet Lauren Ryan, obviously Lauren is my number 2 in the PR team and a wonderful add to the team. And then Kason Grover. Kason is Mitsubishi's head of product planning, director of product planning for Mitsubishi Motors North America. The very last thing I'm going to tell you that I want to share, and then I'm going to get out of the way and let Kason chat with you quickly, is when we leave here, we're going to drive out to Everglades National Park. When we get there, it's about a little bit more than a 90-minute drive. We have arranged a boat tour through the Everglades for you. Brian, I know that you've got a tight turnaround, and we can probably alter the boat tour, as I understand, so that we can make sure we get you back in time for your flight. If anyone else doesn't want to do the boat tour, that's fine. I just need to know about it so that we can schedule, we can make our logistics work. You will drive either an Outlander or an Eclipse Cross away from here to the park. You'll swap cars when you get there, and you'll come back. The cars have all been sanitized using the Mitsubishi Diamond Premium Care, which is a EPA certified cleaning agent that our dealers can use on customer cars. The cars will be re-cleaned at lunch so that when you get into a different car, we can assure you that it is completely COVID-free and there should be no concerns. Of course, the fact is that it's just swapping with each other, and we know you're all COVID-free as well. But I just want to make sure everyone understands what we're doing on that too. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to turn it over to Casey, who's just going to give you a very high-level overview of the 2 vehicles, and then we're going to go drive.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. Look forward to working with everybody today. Hopefully I can get around and see everybody. I know it's one person in the car and we're not doing ride-along, so another thing that's a little bit different. But let's jump in. It's makes my job a lot easier when there's a lot of product to talk about. Wonderful. We have 2 products, not just one. And what I'm going to do is basically walk through, again, the big takeaways that I want you to have today. Of course, the big event is go out and get your own driving impressions. We'll start with Eclipse Cross, and then we'll move over to Outlander. We can keep distance, but of course, as I speak about design, we can all walk around to the back and kind of spread out. We need to circulate a little bit. I can repeat a couple things if I need to. And then at the end on each vehicle, I'll spend some time on the interior. Generally, I'll sit in there and show you a couple of just the key controls that you need to know about for today, just to make sure you experience everything that's there. So, with that in mind, Eclipse Cross. You know, Jeremy mentioned facelift on Mirage, and it's a big change if you've seen it. We're really excited about that as well. Eclipse Cross, we're really calling a major redesign. It is in the life cycle, but this is a much bigger change than you usually do mid-cycle. So what I mean by that is we've got new sheet metal both front and rear. We've got suspension enhancements, to some extent to offset some of the increase in length and so on. Overall length is up to 5.5 inches. So again, a lot more than you would generally see in the middle of the life cycle. I will point back and forth occasionally too as we speak about front design, since it's very convenient to have them both here. But both of these vehicles have interpretations, or rather latest interpretations of what we call dynamic shield front styling. Launched a few years ago on actually the prior Outlander, and has now rolled out across the entire lineup. So these two vehicles are really taking it to the next level. So that generally refers to kind of the safety implied by the wraparound feature you see here with the chrome accent, and then basically the performance implications of the large intake down below. And that's inspired by some of our past products as well. But what you'll see is it's a design theme, but we didn't make 2 or 3 or 4 different sizes of exactly the same vehicle. Each of these vehicles really serves a unique purpose. So we'll go back over to Eclipse Cross. Really, this is about being a sporty crossover, right? Emphasizing fun to drive, standard turbocharged engine, and it's got that kind of quick steering and more of a nimble feel. And everything about this design is kind of rakish, right? And it's reminding you that it's a sporty vehicle. You know, we didn't take the use of the Eclipse name lightly at all. So with that, when you see this interpretation of dynamic shield, you've got more angular features. The hood comes in much lower, again, for that brake. That's why a new hood was required, so that's the front sheet metal here. Then another common element you'll see just in these two vehicles so far, and then eventually rolling out across the lineup, is we've actually moved the main headlamps lower. So these are the parking lamps and DRLs with a turn signal integrated below. So again, same placement, but much more rugged interpretation over here, sportier interpretation over here. Well, let's go ahead and move around, and again, we can walk to the back and spread out accordingly. Again, as you walk by the profile, we've still got that nice rakishness. I'm sure most of you are aware, it's a lot of change up front, we're really excited about it. But the absolute biggest change on this vehicle for 2022 is the rear design. So, of course, the 20 model year had the split rear window design and kind of lighting that went all the way across. The entire hatch has been replaced, so that's the sheet metal change in the rear. One of the things we wanted to do, however, was keep a really interesting taillight signature. If you're familiar with the prior vehicle, or the current vehicle, it did have a really cool taillight signature. And when we took away that kind of bar all the way across, we lost the ability to have elongation this way. But again, with the rakishness of the vehicle, we integrated this vertical feature. And then another thing, as you look at both vehicles, is you'll see they both have what we call three-dimensional taillight design, kind of these tri-elements here. You'll see it over there, but again, interpreted very differently. So more aggressive and sporty here, and we'll get to Outlander in more detail in a minute, but much more emphasis on width there, right? And interestingly, by gaining 5.5 inches overall, 4 inches of which is in the rear, we've got about 11% more cargo floor area too. So had some gains there, so a nice little.
Than the previous gen.
Than the 20 model year, yeah, exactly. All right, let me jump in here because the updates continue into the interior with a focus on ease of use with technology. I will close this so we don't beep the whole time. We always had a combiner HUD in this vehicle. We start it up and it should pop.
That'll stop.
Yep, that beep will stop. The big news here, however, is the screen went from the maximum available being 7 inches to 8 inches, but very importantly, it's actually moved 2 inches toward the rear of the vehicle. So much easier for the driver to reach. And with that emphasis on touch as the primary interface, we actually removed the touchpad that used to be located in the center console. So then some of the controls moved around, the cup holders are actually shifted over, just there to kind of improve, really minimize elbow interference with the cup holders. That was a complaint we heard at times. You don't see it here. Please find one of the ones, I think there are 2 units outside that have it. There's an all new light gray interior as well. This vehicle has always just had black interior up to now, so we're really excited about that. And again, as we're bringing in, kind of more and improved technology, that light interior really kind of helps add some elegance to the vehicle that we frankly didn't have before. Power seat was not previously available, and that now comes with the leather equipped models. And then finally, one of the things, it seems very small, but as we talk about improving the controls, we've actually brought back the volume and tune knob. So before we kind of had the touch, you'll see it over there too. So good, consistent theme. Very, very happy about that.
Yes, we are.
As we like to say sometimes as kind of a housekeeping measure, if you get into the vehicle and you want the HUD, I have the vehicle off right now, there is a HUD on-off down here by your left knee, and then the up-down is actually a hard switch here too. So if you get in and you can't see it, those adjustments are just right there for you. Everything else, I think that's just one I know sometimes you miss. We just want to make sure you have that experience. Final note on the inside, we've also added embedded navigation. So that was never available on Eclipse Cross before. So excited about that. I'm pretty sure you'll be using it today because the vehicles are loaded to get you to, well, either from here to there or from there to here. So that'll be very helpful today in particular, but also, of course, it's just a convenient option for the customer. And of course, you can still plug in your Android or Apple phone and get Android Auto or CarPlay, respectively. All right, let's move over to Outlander. Thank you, sir.
Did you want to whack the?
Yeah, I know, I was doing that. So let's come back up to the front and we'll kind of do the same thing here. So we talked about dynamic shield and we talked about the interpretation here. So if we back up a little bit, and I talked about kind of sporty and sleek and agile with Eclipse Cross. Well, what is Outlander to us? It's our flagship, right? This is our flagship product. We'll have more details later. Of course, we will have a plug-in variant coming in the future, so this will support that level as well. But really, this vehicle, the Japanese word for the concept, especially the design inspiration, is Ifu Dodo, and that means authentic and majestic.
How do you spell that?
And it is I hyphen, and don't chuckle, F-U hyphen D-O hyphen D-O. And I won't say that anymore.
And what does the term mean?
Authentic and majestic. I had one of our Japanese staff actually explain that to me as like thinking of like the general on his horse, right? That kind of just the majesty of everything.
What can that mean on a motorcycle?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That'll work. Perfect. Depends on the motorcycle. But so very different design language here, right? I talked about kind of the rake and the slope of the hood on Eclipse Cross. Here we're flat pretty far out. This is really about ruggedness, kind of bringing back thoughts of our prior products. Some of our prior SUV products. You'll see that in the flat roof design as well. I think it's rather unique in the segment actually. So very, very proud of this vehicle, and it is at least a little bit bigger in every dimension versus the current product, but really the design has been done in such a manner that it really emphasizes that. So it is wider, it's at least a couple of inches wider, but when you see the vehicles, even side by side, it even just has that much more presence. So let's go that way, I think, get a little more space. I mentioned the flat roof, so we think that's just a really key feature here. And then the other one is we have 20-inch wheels, which are segment leading. So very, very happy there. Really, again, it fits that kind of majestic look and feel. We're very excited about that. Those will be on all except only the very entry trim level. So, and it's even an option on that trim level. So almost everything you see will have these wheels. If we come around to the back, and I know we find the best place, I'll come this way, maybe we can fan out. I mentioned that presence, kind of that bold design. Again, here, everything is about emphasizing width. And it has the three-dimensional taillight design, but again, everything's kind of elongated this way. You've got every design element just speaking to that presence, right? We also have, this is, I don't have the key in my pocket, but we do have foot-operated hands-free liftgate. We still have the only third row, a standard third row in the segment. So big news there, and hopefully you notice this power liftgate is actually about twice as fast as before. So always a nice convenient element. And when that third row is down, of course we have half up just to show you.
It's got a nice lift height too.
Yes, I imagine. I'm sometimes concerned about that. I know you would be, right? So,
Standard instead of third row?
third row is standard, yep. Liftgate comes in at kind of mid-trim, or power liftgate comes in at mid-trim, and it's hands-free anytime you have it.
We have to have the key on you, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, yeah, I just didn't have it right now, but
And does
can
that
do it
middle
today.
seat slide forward?
Yes, so sliding second row, and it's actually 40-20-40,
Okay.
and that's standard as well. That's uncommon in the segment as well, right? You can fold that middle down, put in skis or Home Depot items or whatever random things my kids brought at any time. And of course, when that third row is now, we've gained cargo space here too as well. So big news there. One thing I didn't mention, and we'll put it back down later, we don't need to do it right now. Another common element between the two vehicles is what's called a Hexaguard rear design. And you'll see there's kind of a hexagonal design on both of these vehicles. Again, that's really to kind of bring in the feeling or just remind you of the exterior mounted spares in the past on something like a Montero, right? So it's on both, a little more, it's emphasized for ruggedness here, and of course it's wider. So again, kind of having that bold presence. All right, let's move to the interior. And I'll speak much more to technology of the interior. This vehicle really takes this to a whole nother level. Gotta close this so we don't beep. Yes, so the main design theme on the interior is what's called omotenashi, which is a Japanese term for hospitality. So anticipating your guests' needs, right? Thinking about how someone will use the vehicle. And omotenashi. Yeah, I can get you the spelling. It doesn't have any humorous initials. What's that? Yeah, really anticipating your guests' needs as though you've kind of thought of everything. And when we think of that in here, it kind of means two things. It means in this case, and I'll get out in a minute and you can get some time in the interior, and of course then you'll drive it. Part of that is about just a surprising level of luxury, surprising soft touch materials, and everything you see plays into the exterior design theme too. We specifically mounted the HVAC controls lower to get this wide element here and just emphasize spaciousness. The other thing that's interesting with omotenashi is, and it's funny because sometimes the little things can mean so much. Even the seat back storage, hopefully everybody gets a look at that. It's not just one big, we used to call them map pockets because we used to have paper maps and atlases, but it actually has 3 pockets and one's designed for a phone. So if somebody's in the back, you actually have a place to put things. So just cool little thoughts. And then, right, it makes you wonder, why doesn't everybody do that, right? But another one that we love is, first and foremost, yes, the knobs are back on this vehicle too. But if you look at all of the controls, even the window switches and the rotary kind of barrel here, you actually have the same knurling continued. So it's unusual. Usually you're just going to have black plastic switches in this segment. You don't here. And it's even really kind of mimicked here. So again, just taking everything to the next level, genuine aluminum trim here. Quick note, this is our first shift-by-wire vehicle. Very happy with the execution, that it's about as close to a regular shifter as you can get. You'll see the P on top. I know you guys have driven all kinds of different, so that should be very familiar. There is a button on the side, so when you want to go into reverse, you do push the side. So it works just like a reverse lockout would. Moving on to technology, this is the first implementation of what we call My Pilot Assist, and that is really our kind of next level driver assistance technology. Still hands-on technology, but it takes the adaptive cruise control feature that gives you fore aft control, and then it adds a lane keep assist feature, which unlike kind of the intervention technologies that only do something if you're about to get into trouble, this is true lane centric, right? So it's helping you to stay right in the middle. It's the little green kind of shield button here. That'll activate it. You'll use it just like adaptive cruise, but what you'll see is, depending on which screen you're on, one way or another, you'll get a little green steering wheel, and that just means it's active. If you're in the main screen on the digital cluster display, that's really kind of the ADAS screen, you'll see kind of green markers for the lanes. That just means the camera's picking them up and it's active. So same thing, this is the green steering wheel. The other thing it has is traffic sign recognition. So you'll see that it updates the speed limit as it goes. And then it also has Navi-Link, so it uses the map to anticipate sharp curves coming up. We have all that many sharp curves today, so you won't feel it, but on a highway that has a particularly sharp curve, it can actually slow the vehicle down in anticipation of that. So I mentioned the digital cluster display.
So like the surrounding cameras here.
Yes, and that comes in the mid-grade as well. And actually this digital cluster display is an option on just the mid-trim too. So it's on a lot of the vehicles. That is a 12.3 inch display. And then there's also a 10.8 inch HUD. So the HUD, if you see it in the Eclipse Cross, is the combiner type, appropriate for that segment, and actually still unusual in that segment. This is the on windscreen type, and it's much larger. You'll actually see you can get a lot of navigation information there. You can also put the map here in the digital cluster display. So I think another one, and hopefully if everybody needs to kind of circulate through and see it, as you drive today, I know the great thing about clusters